Welcome back, everyone, to BBB Sharing. I'm Evie, Director of Ignite, sparked by BBB. I'm here with Barry Moore, our CEO and President of the Better Business Bureau.
All right, hello.
Hello, Barry. And of course, our wonderful guest today is Kristen. Kristen, you're going to tell me about yourself because I know maybe one thing about you, and that's about your name. And okay, one other thing NCAA comes to mind.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that intro. Yeah, I'm Kristen O'Rourke. A lot of people from NCAA coaching know me as KO. I met Barry about last week, and he's just like, "What's your story?" And so we just started chatting. And the story was, I graduated college right when the market was crashing, and I was like, I don't even know what I want to do with my life, but I do know field hockey, and this seems like a good little incubator for me to like navigate the world while the world is unstable. Turns out things are still the world stays in the world, but you create your own stability. And so, over a decade and a half later, I've traveled through NCAA coaching. What started as a volunteer assistant role at University of Richmond, Davidson, multiple club roles. I kept trying to leave coaching as I evolved because I wanted a different challenge than the X's and O's. But then I realized coaching is so much more than that. And so for the past 6 years, I had the pleasure and the luxury of like being in the Ivy League. And so my former boss at Yale, I was living off an island in Texas, and she texted me one Tuesday and was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know." She's like, "Come work for me." And so that trip up on a train in the snow in my shorts, listening to country music and crying, was just the start of this expansion into what that next chapter looks like. So I went from Yale and then ended my Division One coaching career at Columbia in New York, and New York was unbelievable. And the student athletes of this generation, particularly within the Ivy League and particularly New York, are just incredible people. But along the way, there was a consistency in I was goalkeeper coach, and so it's very very clear the metrics of success and failure with that. And so that was the thing I appreciate the most about coaching is there's always a very clear mission. And then just I was able to expand out from that point.
So this interview, the benefit of this is you're going to attach this to a resume. You're going to send it to folks looking for you to hire a great employee. So I'd like Evie and I just to fire away with some kind of interview questions. Just so people get information. Basically, we're not tricking you. It's just so people gather the information. So they read a resume, but now they're hearing and seeing you. So it should give you, out of that big stack of resumes, yours to the top. That's what we want. So first thing is, where did you go to college?
I went to school at James Madison.
Great. And you played field hockey there for 4 years?
Took a fifth year.
Fifth year. And so you're coaching and playing sports for employers. Why is that important to know about you? What is important about your coaching background as much as your playing background, as far as learning a playbook, motivation, culture, loyalty, and all the other buzzwords that I'd be looking for as an employer?
I think the capacity to expand, to have a mission, to work within a team, and have the ability to work not only as like an elite individual, but to zoom out, gather that macro intelligence, and then zoom back into my specific role, and to continue to be able to just feed the overall team mission while executing my own individual mission, and just catalyzing everyone else's growth alongside mine.
So you have another question?
Yeah,
Or you have a
one thing I
question?
will
Go
say,
ahead,
first
yeah.
of all, I'm
Yes.
from Harrisonburg.
Yes.
Legend that. Also, one of the things you mentioned that coaching was not just the X's and the O's. And one of the hardest parts that I've had transitioning into a leadership position is how do I take somebody that's just not getting it to get it, to finally understand like the message that I'm trying to get across. Like how do you deal with those different personalities to become a team?
That's such a great question. And that's what I had from a young coach to like an older coach. And then as the generations have changed and going from, a kid that grew up in Williamsburg, Virginia to dealing with these Ivy League Gen Zers, I'm like, hi, they're not the people that are like, because I said so. They're not going to take that. So I was like, okay, we're going to have to really figure out how to effectively communicate and make this intrinsically motivated and have value to them. So we had to get very creative, and understand what makes people tick. And it was very clear to them is their performance was important. Being effective was important. But, well, that's in alignment with my goals. So the start was trust. And in order to get them to trust me, I needed them to feel safe and stable within themselves. So that was how we moved away from the X's and O's, because I was able to create this side content called The Line Within to help build their trust and stability in their relationship with me, to kind of accept the ideas that we were looking to and make it so that it was their own knowledge process and not me just saying, do this because I know, here's my resume. Although that is very clear and effective, it's not effective for them.
Right.
So we're gonna share this with accredited businesses and we work for them. We work for all the consumers at the Better Business Bureau. So if we were to get you an interview, you get an interview and you get in front of me and I tell you the communication at my company is horrendous. We don't listen to customers well. We don't follow a playbook. What will you do if you worked on my staff to help me? The sales manager can't get it done, the office manager, the admin, nobody's listening. Everybody, older than you, they know what to do. They've been in the company and they think they know what to do, but I'm failing and they don't seem to care. What would you do if I hired you?
I'm a little bit twisted because as soon as you said that, I got a little bit excited because I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, this is a treasure trove of problems to solve. And that is a lot of what I found through my coaching career was like, I had my one goal was to have extremely effective goalkeepers, but it's never that simple because nobody is unaffected. So in order to manage all the details, I had to expand out influence without power. And so I had to kind of learn what made people tick, how to read a situation, understand relationships. So I definitely want to embed in that company, have these conversations with individuals and understand all of the different pieces of the puzzle, what made them tick, what really set them off, understand the goals of the company, and kind of see where there was some misalignment and figure out how we can get everybody, like rowing the same direction and
Yeah.
feeling effective.
It had to be difficult. Now that you make me think about it, you're the goalie coach. So you had other coaches, other leaders,
Oh, yeah.
like in a corporate setting, and a head leader, general manager, owner. So you had to adapt and you had to see, like we talked about, seeing 360. So I encourage you, and I'm not saying it's a terrible thing to be a consultant, but I think days of consultants, the gig is up. Business owners have got to get real. They got to put these people on their staff to hold them accountable, tie them into profitability later on if it works. Consultants get a fee and they go. And they go to the next. They're like campaign managers. They don't care. Those days are over. I think that's the demise of a lot of these small businesses, 10, 20, 30 employees. They listen to themselves and then they get somebody to tell them what to do. They try it, but they're spastic. Versus you being on the staff, what would you be like? What would you be like to manage? How would I have to deal with you? What are your idiosyncrasies? What are going to be the things that are going to make me pull my hair out and say, why did I do this? And how can I prevent that from happening?
So why did I do this in terms of hiring me?
Yeah.
So I'll start with a little anecdote from childhood, which would probably be a thing that drives people nuts about me, but ultimately is a strength. Is when I was a little kid, I'm still undersized, but I was very, very small, very, very quiet. And he was showing tell day at preschool, and I had this inflatable dinosaur. And all these kids, I hid in the shadow. I didn't introverted, didn't want to deal with people. But it was show and tell day, and all these kids are running at me, just being, I want this, and I just like whipped it around in my little pink dress. I'm like, it's my dinosaur, and I make the rules. And I would have to say that is the thing that really gets under people's skin, is when I'm with it, when I put my foot down, it's down. I am very agreeable and team oriented. But just like knowing that when there is a mission, like that's my focus. I've had the luxury of working with very different bosses and supervisors, and having my growth has come from not easy bosses. And it's really forced me to adapt and find areas that it's like, okay, there are times where you do need to frame Clyde. And that was something I've always, again, as a small person, I'm not going to frame Clyde with people or things that have more than me. I had always been fairly avoidant, but in this like competition, sometimes you have to fight. And friction needs to exist. to be able to move forward. And so my boss, who's still a really good friend and mentor now from Yale, she had been there for 20 years. And here I am, just this young person, like, I mean, she hired me, she chose me. And she would ask me, for feedback, or she'd ask me a question and I would give my honest response. And in the beginning, she didn't really love that, because I think a lot of times people just want to be validated in that. I'm like, I'm pretty black and white. I am ADHD, so like I take things pretty literally, whether you want me to or not. And so for a while there, like she kind of read that as me being an upstart or disrespectful, and it was never in my delivery or my response. I'm like, no, like if you want to pay me to tell you yes, then fine. But if you're going to ask me my professional opinion, I'm going to give that, and then we're going to work together to solve it. And so once we all figured that out, there's such a deep respect for our differences, and I really appreciated that. And then in my next role, I was working for somebody a lot younger and less experienced than me, and so I had to figure out how to navigate that as well, because everybody's got ego, and
Sure.
so it's a matter of how do we not step on toes while still being very direct about what is the job, what needs to get done. And I think that would be another idiosyncrasy that I'm still working on is historically I have put the task first over ego. And I've learned, how to still get where we need to go while navigating other people's developmental spaces. That was
It's a great answer. And I think any business that's going to interview you, and I hope they take the time to get to meet you, talk to you, because intellectually, you're getting the major, I keep saying major, there's a lot of major problems in business. Some is that the company needs money and they work their whole life to go get loans, to fudge things to get loans, right? They don't know how to generate gross profit and they don't know how to treat their employees. Then they get employees, they get somebody to interview like you. The problem people are going to have is exactly what you just explained. But at the same time, there are leaders, managers that just ask you to do your job and just do it. And I will tell you, probably 8 or 9 out of 10 they can't do it. There's 100 questions behind just speaking to the mic. And there's 100 questions. How do you do that, right? And we're on video. And so make sure you make that clear on your interview process. Have you got one more question and we'll wrap it up?
No, I'm good to go.
Good. All right. So we'll put this in a can and you can send it along with your resume and the video and everything, post it on social media for yourself and get it. And then we're going to do a video with you and interview for accredited businesses, why they should hire you.
You want me to do my whole spiel? All
Nope,
right,
we're good.
Kristen, it was good talking to you.
Yeah,
Thank you guys very much.
got it.